Italian food without tomatoes. Indian food without chili peppers. Belgian fries without potatoes. Swiss chocolate without cacao. Irish stew without potatoes. What is left? Mostly bread, onions, sadness, and a very confused national identity. Here is the weird part. Many of the ingredients that define the world's most traditional foods did not come from the countries that made them famous. Tomatoes are not originally Italian. Potatoes are not originally Irish. Chilies are not originally Indian, Thai, Korean, or Sichuan. Cacao is not Swiss. Vanilla is not French. And coffee is not Colombian. So when people say, "This is authentic traditional food," the correct answer is often, sure, authentic since about 5 minutes ago, historically speaking, because 500 years ago, the world's dinner table was split in half. On one side, Europe, Asia, and Africa. On the other, the Americas, two separate biological worlds, two separate pantries. Two completely different versions of dinner. Then ships crossed the Atlantic. And suddenly, ingredients started moving faster than human culture could explain them. This is the story of the Columbian Exchange. The biological event that rewrote the map of food, created the cuisines we think are ancient, and proved that every national dish is basically an international conspiracy with better seasoning. Before 1492, Earth was not one connected food system. It was more like two giant kitchens that had never met. The Old World, Europe, Asia, and Africa, had wheat, rice, barley, oats, onions, garlic, olives, grapes, citrus, apples, coffee, sugarcane, cattle, pigs, chickens, horses, sheep, goats, and black pepper. This was the pantry behind ancient Rome, medieval Europe, imperial China, the Islamic world, India, Ethiopia, and most of the cuisines people now imagine as timeless. But across the Atlantic, the Americas had a completely different pantry. Maize, potatoes, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, chili peppers, beans, squash, cacao, vanilla, peanuts, pineapple, turkey. No one in Italy had ever tasted a tomato. No one in Ireland had ever planted a potato. No one in India had ever bitten into a chili pepper. No Korean kimchi had gochugaru. No Hungarian stew had paprika. No Swiss chocolatier had cacao to be smug about. For thousands of years, these ingredients lived on opposite sides of the ocean. That separation mattered. The Americas developed their own agricultural systems. Maize became central in Mesoamerica. Potatoes were domesticated in the Andes. Cacao had deep cultural value in Central America. Chili peppers became part of food, medicine, and ritual. Meanwhile, the Old World built its own food empires around wheat, rice, livestock, spices, and long-distance trade routes. The Silk Road moved pepper, cinnamon, cloves, and tea. Mediterranean trade moved wheat, wine, olives, and citrus. Indian Ocean routes carried spices, sugar, rice, and ideas. But even the greatest trade networks in the Old World could not trade with a hemisphere they did not know how to reach. Then came 1492. Columbus did not just connect two continents. He connected two ecosystems. And once that happened, food stopped being local in the old way. It became global, not instantly, not neatly, and definitely not peacefully, but permanently. Let's start with Italy. Today, it is almost impossible to imagine Italian food without tomatoes. Pizza margherita, marinara sauce, lasagna, spaghetti, pomodoro. That little red sauce that makes people argue online about whether pineapple is a war crime. But before the 1500s, Italian cuisine had no tomatoes. None. The tomato came from the Americas. Wild relatives of the tomato are linked to Western South America, while its early domestication and culinary use developed through Mesoamerica. Spanish colonization brought it across the Atlantic in the 16th century. And Europeans did not immediately look at it and say, "Perfect. Let's build an entire national identity around this." At first, many treated tomatoes with suspicion. Some grew them as ornamental plants. Some associated them with poisonous nightshades. Some simply did what humans always do with new food: stared at it for a while and hoped someone else would eat it first. Tomato sauce did not become central to Italian cooking until much later. The famous red sauce Italy that now exists in the global imagination is not ancient Rome. It is a post-Columbian creation. So the next time someone says tomato sauce is pure Italian tradition, the honest answer is yes, a beautiful Italian tradition, built on an American fruit. Now go north to Ireland. The potato is so deeply tied to Irish history that it feels native. But potatoes were domesticated thousands of years ago in the Andes, especially in what is now Peru and Bolivia. They reached Europe after contact with the Americas and spread slowly. At first, Europeans were not exactly throwing potato festivals. The plant looked strange. It grew underground. It was related to nightshade. And when you are a medieval peasant, mysterious underground lump is not always an easy sell. But the potato had one huge advantage. It worked. It produced a lot of calories on small plots of land. It grew in poor soils and cool climates. It fed families more efficiently than many grains. By the 1700s, potatoes had become a staple for the Irish poor. And then came the terrible irony. A crop from South America became so central to survival in Ireland that when blight destroyed it in the 1840s, the result was catastrophe: famine, death, migration, and a wound that shaped modern Irish history. The potato was not native to Ireland, but its absence nearly broke the country. That is the Columbian Exchange in one image, a foreign crop becoming so local that losing it becomes a national trauma. Now go east. India is famous for heat, curry, vindaloo, pickles, street food that looks at your pain tolerance and laughs. But chili peppers are not native to India. Before chilies arrived, Indian food already had heat. It used black pepper, long pepper, ginger, mustard, and other spices. India was not bland. Let's not insult several thousand years of flavor. But the chili pepper changed everything. Chilies came from the Americas and spread through Portuguese and Spanish trade networks in the 16th century. Portuguese traders helped bring them into India, including through Goa, and from there they moved rapidly across South Asia. They were cheap, they were easy to grow, they were intense. And unlike expensive imported black pepper, they could be cultivated widely. That made them revolutionary. Within a few centuries, chili peppers became so deeply embedded in Indian cuisine that removing them today feels almost impossible. Then the same thing happened across Asia. Korean kimchi became red and fiery because of New World chili. Thai curry gained part of its modern heat from New World chili, Sichuan cuisine. Famous for its numbing and spicy intensity, became part of a broader chili transformation. The Americas gave the Old World one of its most powerful flavors. And the Old World immediately did what humans do best: took the ingredient, localized it, perfected it, and then pretended it had always been there. Once you notice this pattern, the entire menu starts falling apart. Belgian fries need potatoes from the Andes. Swiss chocolate needs cacao from the Americas. And later, Sugar grown in plantation economies across the Caribbean and beyond. Hungarian paprika comes from chili peppers, which came from the Americas. French vanilla desserts depend on vanilla, a New World orchid originally cultivated in Mesoamerica. Polenta in Italy became deeply associated with maize, another American crop. West African food was transformed by maize, cassava, peanuts, and chili peppers. Even American apple pie is not purely American. The apples came from Central Asia. The wheat came from the Old World. The sugar cane originated in Southeast Asia. The recipe tradition came through Europe. And the phrase, "as American as apple pie is," historically speaking, doing a lot of emotional labor. Food identity is weird that way. A dish can be emotionally local, even when its ingredients are globally homeless. And that is the whole point. National cuisines are not museum pieces. They are living maps, maps of trade, maps of colonization, maps of migration, maps of empire, maps of survival, maps of people arriving somewhere new and trying to make dinner with whatever the world has left them. But the Columbian Exchange was not a cute little farmer's market across the Atlantic. It was not just tomatoes going one way and wheat going the other. It was a biological collision. And the Old World sent back things that changed the Americas forever. Before European contact, the Americas had very few domesticated large animals compared with Eurasia. There were llamas and alpacas in the Andes, turkeys in Mesoamerica, dogs in many places, but no horses in the societies Europeans encountered. No cattle, no pigs, no sheep, no goats. Then Spanish ships brought them. Horses transformed life on the Great Plains of North America, reshaping hunting, warfare, movement, and culture. Cattle and pigs transformed landscapes, diets, and economies from Mexico to Argentina. European livestock did not just arrive, they multiplied, they escaped. They trampled fields. They reshaped ecosystems. The Americas became a new stage for Old World animals. But the deadliest cargo was invisible: smallpox, measles, influenza, typhus. Other diseases to which indigenous peoples had little or no previous exposure. The result was one of the greatest demographic disasters in human history. In many regions, epidemics killed huge portions of indigenous populations. The exact numbers are debated, but the scale was devastating. This is where the story stops being quirky food trivia and becomes something much darker. The same exchange that eventually gave Italy tomato sauce and India chili also helped destroy societies. The ships that carried seeds also carried pathogens. And then came sugar. Sugarcane did not originate in the Americas. It came from Southeast Asia, spread through India and the Islamic world, and reached the Mediterranean before Europeans carried it across the Atlantic. But in the Caribbean and Brazil, sugar became something terrifyingly profitable. Plantations demanded land, land demanded labor, and European empires built that labor system through the mass enslavement and forced transportation of millions of Africans. So when we talk about chocolate, coffee, sugar, and global food, we are not just talking about ingredients. We are talking about empire. A chocolate bar can contain the history of Mesoamerican cacao, Caribbean sugar, European industry, African forced labor, and modern global capitalism, which is a lot for something sold next to chewing gum at a checkout counter. But that is food. It looks simple because it is small enough to fit on a plate. Its history is not. Now look around a modern kitchen. Almost nothing is where it belongs. Coffee originated in Ethiopia, and Yemen's coffee culture helped spread it. But today Brazil is one of the world's coffee giants. Bananas originated in Southeast Asia and New Guinea. But Latin America became one of the major export centers. Oranges came from Asia, but Florida and Brazil became citrus symbols. Cattle were domesticated in the Old World, but beef became central to Argentina, Texas, and Brazil. Chickens trace back to Asia, but the modern industrial chicken is a global creature. Tomatoes crossed oceans, potatoes crossed oceans, chilies crossed oceans, cacao crossed oceans. Sugar crossed oceans, people crossed oceans, voluntarily, violently, desperately, hopefully. Every dinner plate is a migration record. And this is why fusion food is not a modern invention. Fusion is the default setting of human food. Tempura, often seen as deeply Japanese, was influenced by Portuguese frying traditions brought by missionaries and traders, secturists. Curry became a British category for many different South Asian dishes, then traveled around the empire and back again. Pizza became global through Italian migration, American industry, and worldwide fast food culture. Tacos, ramen, kebabs, curry, pasta, chocolate, coffee. Each one is a border crossing disguised as a meal. And the older a dish feels, the easier it is to forget how many journeys created it. That does not make the dish fake. It makes it human, because tradition is not the absence of change. Tradition is what survives change long enough for people to claim it. So is Italian food really Italian? Yes. But it is also American, Mediterranean, Spanish, Arab, and global. Is Indian food really Indian? Yes. But its modern heat is also Mexican. Portuguese, colonial, local, and agricultural. Is Irish potato culture really Irish? Yes, but it is also Andean. That is not a contradiction. That is how culture works. People take foreign things and make them intimate. They take strange crops and turn them into comfort food. They take imported ingredients and feed them to children, until one day those children grow up believing the ingredient was always there. And in a way, they are right, because authentic does not mean untouched. It means meaningful. A tomato is not originally Italian, but tomato sauce is Italian. Italians made it part of their lives. A chili pepper is not originally Indian, but chili heat is Indian because Indian cooks made it speak their language. A potato is not originally Irish, but Irish potato history is Irish because it fed, failed, and shaped millions of Irish lives. The map of food is not a map of purity. It is a map of adoption. And maybe that is the most honest map we have. So the next time someone says their cuisine is pure, traditional, and unchanged, ask one simple question. Where did the ingredients come from? Because the answer is probably somewhere else. The Columbian Exchange did not just change what people ate. It created the modern idea of what national food even is. It gave Italy its tomato, India its chili, Ireland its potato, Switzerland its chocolate, Korea its red kimchi, Hungary its paprika, and the world a dinner table where almost every plate is a passport. No cuisine is pure. Every cuisine is a memory of movement. Some of that movement was trade, some was migration, some was conquest, some was slavery, some was survival. But every time we eat, we are eating the map, and the map is messy. Which, honestly, is probably why it tastes so good. If you like finding the hidden systems behind everyday life, subscribe to Global Facts and tell me in the comments, what food shocked you the most when you learned where it actually came from?